You are not my problem because you're not. You're not. If you become my problem over and above my own problems or myself, that entirely compromises my health and well-being. Let me explain. So it's a question of boundaries and a question of how we are with our boundaries and how comfortable we are with being ourselves, what we are comfortable accepting, not accepting, where we can say yes and where we can say no. And a lot of society and upbringing, and even in schools, we're not guided in a balanced way around this. And these are big issues around being a woman. Women are considered the caretakers. We carry babies in our bellies. We bring them into the world. We nurture our babies. We nurture other people in the world. And there is still a thinking out there that is somehow better than putting yourself first. Putting yourself first is still considered selfish. I'm going to do that in air quotes because the energy on the word selfish is a judgmental energy. And yet, that is one of the key foundational pieces to self-healing. And it absolutely was for me when I had cancer 20 years ago. And I made the decision to heal holistically. And from that point, I pretty much had to rip up the floorboards of who I thought I was and rewire the entire system. Because if you get something like cancer, and I was given 6 months to live by doctors, you're in a state of survival, which means things have gone clearly wrong in the system. It's like a car that has heavily failed its MOT. And so the job at that point is to dig deep and find out where the wiring's faulty or broken completely. And boundaries was one of the areas that I uncovered as I embarked on my own healing. And what I learned was I had no sense of self, I had no center. And on a subconscious and conscious level, I was putting everyone else's needs above my own. And there were certain levels that I was doing this that I didn't even realize it. I was programmed, or I like to say hardwired to do this. And this can come down our family lines. I'm not saying it's exclusive to women, but it does show up more for women. It can come down our female lines. It's in our DNA. You just have to look at our history on the planet. We are not celebrated for putting ourselves first. If a man puts himself first, it's often, he's assertive, he's strong, independent. If a woman puts herself first, she's often considered aggressive or bitchy or any number of words that demean her personal authority. Oh, I got a thumbs up. So, a lot of people look at this from a political perspective. It comes up a lot in corporate workplaces. But actually, I'm very interested in health and well-being and what makes up our health and well-being. And people think when they think about health, they think about physical health and doctors and problems. But actually, our health and well-being is so much more than that. It's so much it's vaster than that. It's about how we feel. It's about how we are in the world, how we're sleeping, what state are our finances in. I mean, that's not my area of expertise, but and I know some incredible women who work with that. But it's definitely something I've had to work on as part of my holistic, with a W, healing, which continues today. That healing never stops. But it was a key piece for me when creating that foundational level of healing in coming through cancer. And that first year that I came back from the States, I was absolutely ruthless with boundaries. I had to be. It was either my survival or pleasing someone else in case they didn't like me. Well, and when you're put in that position, or you find yourself in that position, it kind of gets a bit easier. Well, I'm not giving up my life so you don't like me. You know, my survival is everything. If I'm not here, you know, if my body goes, I'm not here to be disliked, basically. So it kind of sorts that sort of stuff out. It's when we're not in that crucial level of healing that it can become more problematic. And I've definitely lost friends over the years when I've put boundaries in place. That's never an easy thing to go through. And I still find it hard. And I went through this with a friend last year, but I know at the end of the day, the person I am going to be the truest to is me, because I'm responsible for this body in the world over someone else and their body. And that's their job and their responsibility to do that. So we always have to put ourselves first. And that sounds cliched, you hear it a lot. It sounds simplistic. And I realize it's not always that easy, especially when we've had relationships that have been convoluted, or relationships where the dynamic has been, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. That can happen a lot, happens a lot in family. But when it comes to a point of what are you prepared to do for your health and well-being, I think it's a non-negotiable point. You know, do you want to be liked or do you want to be here? That's a good blog. I need to remember that one. And so going back to my story, I was absolutely ruthless, and I didn't see people that I didn't feel comfortable around at that time. And that included friends and family. I certainly wasn't in the game at that point to be liked. And there were people that struggled with my decisions. There were people that were absolutely able to give me space and, you know, come back into my world when I was ready to see people again. And there were people that couldn't cope with it. And I had to let it all go because it was my survival on the line at that point. And what I want to share from all this is don't wait for things to get to that, what I call fever pitch level of health crisis, before you start to take action in looking after yourself. And this has become my mission in the world, is to empower women to take charge of their health and well-being so much earlier than that point at which you get some little health crisis or big health crisis that appears. And then you're suddenly scrabbling around going, oh my God, I've got to sort this. I've got to sort this out. Whether you go down the conventional medicine route or you follow a holistic path or a combination of both, do it now. Do it before it gets to that level. Start to think about, who am I? What do I want? Where am I giving away my time, my energy? Where do I not feel good? And that's one of the key things, is really tuning into, where do I not feel good? You have to be honest with yourself about that. And it could be people that you've been around for years. You suddenly go, yeah, that's not working anymore. And with all the love in the world, I've got to let go or let them go or move aside. I've had a few conversations with people recently around that, where they've had to take steps that are not comfortable. It's been on creating boundaries. So that's what I work on. That's one of the things we work on in the Supercharge Your Life program, is boundaries. Is because as soon as you start to look at, what do you want in life? Who are you now? Where do you want to go? Boundaries come up. Because one of the easiest ways we lose our space and therefore give up what we want in life is where we're accommodating someone else and making them our problem. And then all of a sudden, we're not doing what we want to do because we're too busy trying to fix or accommodate someone else around us. So if you're interested in working with me, I have the 6-week Supercharge Your Life program, which is 6 sessions, 1-to-1. I use my clairvoyance, which is what I used when I had cancer. Well, I say use it now every day on my own health and well-being. And we look at your energy field. We look at who you're being at the moment, who you want to be, what's in the way of all that, where you might be losing your space. And there could be some who's that come up in that, who you might be losing your space to. And so we clarify those blocks, we start to clear the path. And that's not a once and done or even a 5-minute process. That can take a while for you to clear that out of all the different levels of who you are. And then we create a plan for sustainable change, and you start to shift. So in those 6 weeks, you may not create a massive transformational change. You might, but what you will do is set up a blueprint to work from. So if you're interested in working with me and supercharge your life, message me the word super and we can chat more. And I also do one-off transformational spiritual coaching and healing sessions, and where we look at it's 60 to 75 minutes. You get a recorded video of the session. And again, we look at your space, we see what's going on. You might have an issue. Usually in that hour, we've got time for one issue, and we start to be able to pick away at that and help you shift. And from one session, you'll start to feel shifts in yourself. So if you're interested in that, DM me the word psychic. Have a really great day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye.